Bye-bye.
There you go. Just like a kneeboard. You got it? Oh. Don't let go.
Oh, no.
What did I do during quarantine 2020? I built a boat. That's right, I built a boat. And here's that story. Back in January, I was sitting at work minding my own business when I had the thought, I want to create a boat out of recycled materials. And at the time I had access to a lot of 2-liter bottles. So I was like, perfect, let's line these up. Let's figure out how many we would need. And I came to the conclusion that I would need 3 rows deep to make my boat with about 6 to 7 bottles wide, which would be roughly 366 bottles. You need 4 bags of recycled materials, which is roughly about 50 bottles. The easiest method is actually to tape 1 row at a time to itself and then just line all the rows up together, because that way you could spin the bottles around, whereas I have to keep walking back and forth, and it just definitely was not the easiest way to go. In my dream scenario, this would be 3 levels deep, so we'll see what happens in the future, but for now this is what we did. And then for the final touch, no SS Firequackers would be complete without a duck, of course. Luckily he does float in case he happens to fall off. After working on the Firequackers for the weekend with the help of my little niece, I will link the original video in the description above if you guys want to check it out. We were ready to launch and my whole family was like, Katie, why are you making a boat out of bottles? You could just use your kayak that you own. But I was determined. So we went to launch it and the water was absolutely freezing. And for some reason my family members thought my boat wouldn't work and that it would sink, which is also why I'm wearing a life vest in this video, because safety first. It's Firequackers.
Oh my god, it's so cold. I'm confused why you built a float out of garbage. How does it look on the camera? Can you see me? I would like to notice that this totally works. I am completely soaked and freezing. This definitely works.
After confirming that with just 50 bottles, this bad boy would float and would support my weight, it was time to keep collecting and start on the final product, the Firequackers 2.0. This is what we are working with. This is the old Firequackers, and now we have the production of all these bottles, and here is our production assembly line where we're assembling everything, and it is hot as potatoes outside right now. And originally I was making these in stacks of 7, so you can see this actually pulls apart, so that way I could easily assemble all of them versus trying to do them together. But I realized that I have so many bottles that I could actually do stacks of 10. So this is the 10 in a row. I'm trying to organize over here. We've got some bottles that are like milk jugs. Bottles are awesome because they are so stiff. So when you step on them, they really don't have a lot of give. I think these would be perfect for the floorboard maybe area. I don't have a lot of them, unfortunately. I went back and forth for the final design for the SS Firequackers, but I knew I had to start by taking apart the first round of the Firequackers, and then I'm going to assemble rows of 7 bottles, and eventually decided that rows of 10 made more sense per how many bottles I had, and I'm just gonna go across and line up all these bottles. I want my boat to be at least 3 2-liter bottles deep, so once I had mathed out the design and made sure I had enough bottles, it is now time to assemble. And there really isn't a lot to this, it's just a whole lot of taping and more taping and flipping the bottles around. And then I'm gonna tape all 3 rows of bottles together. And these bottles are actually really light. They're just so awkward because it is absolutely humongous. This raft is basically the size of like a twin mattress. You're just flipping it over. And then I'm just gonna tape my sidewalls on. And originally I'd wanted to use those ocean spray bottles as the bait, as like the floorboards, because they didn't have a lot of give to them and they would be awesome, but I did not have enough. I'm just using them as part of the sidewall to hold on the bottles. And again, I'm just more tape. So much taping involved in this project. I think I ended up using something like 20 rolls of tape. And once you've literally taped bottles together for 2 weeks straight, you now have a boat.
Dun 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 dun, here's the Firequackers. Here's our boat.
I'm tired of waiting, waiting. I'm tired of waiting, waiting. I'm tired of waiting, waiting. So let's be crazy, crazy.
After collecting bottles for at least 4 months and working on it anytime I had the opportunity, and then literally working on it for a week straight over 4th of July in 100-degree heat with so much humidity, it was finally time to launch the Firequackers. And probably the funniest part of this project was that my aunts, my uncles, my dad, my mom, I had basically 6 engineers just walking around overseeing my project like, will it float? A boat made out of bottles? I don't know. Here's the Firequackers getting ready for launch. Bum, bum, bum. So we loaded it up in my brother-in-law's truck, which he hilariously parked in the lake like it was a real boat and not a boat made out of plastic bottles. Side note, this boat really doesn't have a ton of weight. It's just so awkward to carry, which is why we decided to put it in the truck to launch it.
Y'all thought this wouldn't work.
Voyage.
Guys.
Come back this way.
Oh crap. Go backward. Go back.
All right, team, smile.
Woo!
I'm just gonna throw this out there.
The firecracker is silent.
Stay in the middle. Stay in the middle.
Yeah, you've been getting in shape for this.
A lot of paddling and going.
With my co-captain and our safety devices in tow, we decided to launch the Firequackers, and we had paddles and we were gonna go all around the lake, except that while this boat 100% floats, it was so anti-hydrodynamic. Like, this thing was literally a sitting duck in the water. It was so hard to move, and I had this genius idea of paddling it from the ramp to our dock, which is not very far at all. It's a swimmable distance with my niece in tow, and this thing took forever to paddle, to the point where my little niece sat down and was just like, this is boring. I want to get off. So then once we finally got it paddled over, we took a break to bask in our glory of completing the Firequackers. But then we realized that we also had to get it back out of the lake. So I had the genius idea of like, it kind of looks like a boat, so why don't I hold on to a rope and we will ski it around.
I don't know.
Not even one level if you got it. It's all right. You're okay.
How ridiculous is this? Give me like a...
It's fine.
You're gonna all of a sudden... I know. Cold.
You might have to go more to the front to get towed straight. Bye-bye. Did you break the champagne bottle over the bow?
There you go. Just like a kneeboard. You got it? Oh, 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 don't let go.
Oh, no.
You got it. Get it somehow.
The problem with trying to actually ski this boat back to the ramp was that because it has zero hydrodynamicness and it also is so slippery, especially when wet, there was nothing to hook the rope onto. So when my brother-in-law pulled with the boat and I was holding onto the rope, I would literally just slide forward and the boat would stay completely where it was and not move at all. So how did I get it back to the ramp? We don't have any footage of this because I wish we did. It was so funny. I ended up having to get off the boat and swim it back by just pushing it. Luckily, it was a beautiful 4th of July in Virginia, so it wasn't too hot. I wanted to answer a couple of questions that I commonly got asked when I told people about this absolutely absurd project. And the first one was simply people wanted to know how deep it sank. This boat is the size of a twin mattress, so when myself and my niece stood on it, it only sank like half of a bottle. It did not really sink. It was very, very buoyant and floated really well. Did the tape hold up? I used just standard packing tape from Amazon. I will link the exact brand that I used in the description below, and it was absolutely fine. I've actually had the Firequackers sitting outside for about 6 months now, and it has not fallen apart other than the sidewalls have fallen down because that part was definitely weak structurally, but the rest of it is still together because at this point it's just more like string than tape, and we really didn't have any issues with the fact that tape is sticky and boats go in water. We just didn't have any problems with this. I did try and find an environmentally friendly packing tape, but that packing tape was $100 per the Amazon $15 brand, and I just couldn't do it. I also wrote to that company and they never wrote me back, especially when I had questions, so I'm a little disappointed by that one. How many rolls of tape did I use? I think I ended up using about 20 rolls of tape. It was absurd in the end. There's just so much tape happening on this, and part of the reason I'm not exactly sure is at the last moment I ran out of tape and had to run to the Dollar General and buy some. So there's definitely a kind of mixture of like strong heavy duty tape on this boat and also whatever was available at the last moment. You really don't need super strong tape. It all kind of held together pretty well. What have I done with the Firequackers now? I hate to say it, but it is still sitting in the yard behind our garage. It has not gone anywhere. If you guys have any ideas of what I can do with my epic twin size mattress Firequackers for maybe around 3 at this point, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think, and if you've made it this far in the video, please give it a big thumbs up. I worked so absurdly hard on this, you just don't even know, and it would mean so much to me and help the YouTube algorithm out. And if you're not subscribed and you want to see more ridiculous adventures, hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Bye!